All right. So I don't really know how effectively I'm going to be able to show this, but I'm going to try to actually show you guys one of the examples for one of the future charitable causes that I would like to build, and kind of a duplicatable process that I feel would be the answer for the homelessness issue in many ways. Um, to kind of go over the premise of it, this is something that can be scaled to the largest degree. So what you're seeing is kind of like an example of the highest form of what this could be. But essentially, what it would be is any campground where there is like a RV camping site and things of that nature, you'll typically see all the facilities needed for short and long term stay, like restrooms, electricity and charging, things of that nature. The ability to throw away gray water and all that. The details that are now getting a little less, common. That being said, I feel like a campground is a simple and easy solution to a lot of the issues that you see in the homeless issue or in the homeless plight that we're dealing with in America today. And I think the major solution would just be to have these campgrounds designed where one, you would have these awnings or essentially just cover areas for tents. So in the lowest form, all this would be is just an open plot of land with these little tents, some cheap heater things that you can get very inexpensively, and I mean just a little gate to make sure that no craziness happens with those heaters. And then as you scale it out, you can have little sheds, you can have small cheap structures for housing, and that could be for specifically those that want to be able to get room and board employment working in that facility, where their jobs could consist from things like food prep to cleaning and security, depending on if you have prior experience and so on and so forth. This goes for the more functional in these environments, because there are many different spectrums to the homeless community. And I think this right here would serve many purposes. As you can see, I kind of had the premise for the awnings being like a solar panel, where if you had solar panels, one, you would be able to charge the little community. You would be able to use any of that extra store to kind of power the city and get some sort of residuals from that. The room and board, these positions that they can have can help sustain the facility, but they could also get jobs that I would like to create working for the local community in the areas that they may have been present in prior. In the sense that, like, let's say your local gas stations and things of that nature, there's plenty of places that are very disgusting, dirty, poorly kept areas. And I think that the solution to that is to actually bring back public services, because with privatization, like I've talked about in prior podcasts, we're at a point where public services are almost non-existent in many areas. So the street sweepers, the so on and so forth, you're only getting but so much. So if you have opportunities where you can have the homeless clean, de-scrub, remove the trash, snow services, things like that, where you can get these contracts at these local gas stations, places that are falling apart and damaged. You can have the city, or you can have a crowdfunding cause that goes around funding the actual improvements, repairs, or restoration of a damaged building, or an eyesight, removal of graffiti, stains, and um, you know, all kinds of things. So just imagine that. All that you would have is a small little campground, a few supervisor roles. As you can see, this little section over here is just a little bathroom area that I designed. As you can see, it's a little slow. I'm working on this. I made a lot of restrooms here because it's like the ultimate form of it. Little area to tuck away, showers, private little shower situation on the outside. Um, yeah. So all you would need is a little facility, something like this, and in that you would have all the homeless population from a certain community. You would be able to come by in like a van or something of that nature, offer them the opportunity to stay in a more safe, well secured, uh, legally acceptable environment where they would have resources, which I'll describe to you in a second. You can have these little resource tents set up in that little area where different causes and resources for the homeless community can kind of have permanent stakes, or they can even just have literature and maybe a phone for contacting, so on and so forth, where you'd be able to get the information that you need and the help that you need to improve your situation. Let's say you lost your license and you need that in order to work. So it's hard to go and get that process done if you don't have a place of employ or a property for mailing. This place could provide that. So you're healing the homeless community and the issues that they're dealing with. You're incentivizing the homeless in a way where if they want to, they could do drugs and they can what have you over here, so that instead of being in the just on the streets or in a shelter that won't let them, which is why they tend to go on the streets because they have the regulations. You have to get a job eventually, so on. So that's the hindrance for shelters. If you create an environment like this where it is all the rules that you get when you're on the streets with securities, protections, and opportunity to advance in community, at that point you have some level of growth where you can actually start to heal the homeless community, and almost overnight you can pretty much cure a city's issue with homelessness by reducing the presence greatly. Now, if you want to do a bigger scale operation to kind of serve that purpose, I was trying to hide some things, but I guess you'll just see some things. I was hiding them for the moment. So you could also have the parking garage, because as I said, this is just essentially what would be a kind of like an RV park, a campground for they accommodate people who have vehicles as well. So in that same space, let's imagine that these two were connected. All you would have is a campsite for those with tents and a car site for those who want to live in their cars and so on and so forth. Very similar situation, awning for the electricity if you can go about it, um, and for providing electricity for the city. You would have all the toilets and all the restrooms, or and all the showers and stuff, all the same. So this isn't going to be like the most inexpensive project, but what it would be is something that if you were to purchase or work with a campground that, let's say, is going out of not going out of business, but is failing, isn't getting much attention. RV parks that are having whatever issues that they want to rebrand or what have you. Or just people who have bare land, not that far away from cities. This is something that could even happen with like the abandoned train parks and the industrialized parts of certain cities and so on. There's just bare land certain areas. This could be done where it's not too far away from a city. There can be busing in and out to that city if you do need to go, and that can also be the recruiting arm and means of picking up more homeless people. Um, yeah. So with is simple as just a large enough plot of land. I mean, you could start with some heavy duty tarps if you wanted to just cover just keep the rain from occurring. You can get some wedding venue tents. It would be harder to make sure that security and privacy separation is assured, because that I do want to make sure is done so that there isn't theft and things of that nature. That's why, security cameras and things of that nature can be done. Keys on some of the properties that you actually can stay in. And then the tent rules are going to be tent rules for the people who are used to that. And there's just going to be that security to make it a little harder to do harm. Now, if you're able to build this out to the highest form, what you would do is you would actually build like a facility that kind of specializes in the administrative and security side of things. So to kind of zoom in on this, let me see if I can just walk on in here. Um, this is actually an app that I always use on my phone. I'm using this for the first time on a computer. So you enter. It's just your basic, open area, and you could do a lot with this day. This place, you could have like a little space for like meetings for everybody there, so on and so forth. This would be like a little small office, like security review area. It's funny, I haven't checked in this in a little bit, so it's been a while. Documents and recording, what have you, any literature you need, storage, a little bit more of that stuff. This is actually what I would consider to be a temporary holding cell for anybody who is either not overdosing, who is having an either a mental health crisis, if they need to be isolated for a period, if they become violent for a time, or if they're having a medical issue that does not require medical attention due to drugs, not necessarily overdosing. So ignore the simplicity of this. There's a limit of textures, so we just made it how we could make it. But yep, so you would have a prison. It only needs like 5 to 10 holding cells at a time. You can outsource to proper prisons if you need to. You can have off-duty officers as the employment arm, and you can also have security and so on, like those who are serve as security. Uh, this is a area that would just kind of be like another main office. Like it has like some of the, if you need to lock some things away, if it has the medical things needed and documentation, printers and stuff. Just a little lounge area to make you feel human. If you want to relax, it would have a time it would close every day, but that would be the only limit. What is this? It's kind of funny. I don't remember all the details, so you're kind of seeing that it was with me. So, yep, it would make sense to have some bathrooms in here. So just some simple bathrooms. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm pretty sure there's bathrooms on the other side too. So you can kind of ignore that. Yes, it's just another series of bathrooms. This is just kind of like an open corridor. You could have like, imagine resources hung up on these walls or kind of positive inspirational quotes and things. Here would be like an open area for like a class, workshop, things for community. You can have like little events, make you feel, like we're all working toward a greater cause here, even if you aren't personally. And then this would be like a little small section with a bunch of little offices. Oop. So like imagine there's like therapy for those who need it, because obviously when you're dealing with the homeless, there's so many reasons why you become homeless. One of the many and unjustified reasons why it goes unaddressed, or should I say, one of the many reasons why homelessness is given the vile nature that it is because you're dehumanizing the people. So think about some of the people that are in that space. Some are just people who lost the breadwinner and they're dealing with the trauma of that. They lost a loved one, there's somebody that means so much to them that they weren't able to continue and handle things as they should. They kind of collapsed. People who have actual mental issues and have mental health episodes, as well as people who are just, going through PTSD, let's say from ex-military and so on. These people can actually get somewhere if you were actually able to provide medical services for these guys for free. And that's not something that gets done for free, but through volunteer work, through donations and state funding, you could reallocate a very small percentage of the state funding that goes into homelessness right now, which, by the way, a lot goes into the management and it's kind of absorbed by the wrong people. One thing that I will be looking to do some investigative journalism on in the near future. But you take a small budget for what's currently being spent on homelessness, and you can do this to the highest scale in a couple different integral cities that we all know about. Skid Row would be the best example to start, and they have the real estate since it's fully absorbed. You could just use that area itself. This would be like a little mental health hospice, or hospice was definitely the wrong word. Mental health, or a if you're overdosing, you can actually get the medical attention you need. You would go there, not the jail cell. That's probably just another. And oh no, this is just a storage closet. So that's all that. You come out now. So this is if it was to the grandest scale possible. So before I was mentioning that the campground would have like a few of these little tents, and you might have a parking structure so that you can have people park as well, or parking garage. So if you had this built out to the highest form possible, what it would be is you would have this separate area, and then in between it, both people can access these resources. There's a common area where you can kind of relax indoors. And when that is closed, there's a common area outside. You can eat outside. There'll be a bunch of community events. There's a little stage there, very inexpensive to set up. You could probably get that donated. But yeah, so there would be a stage there, so you got performances, workshops, things like art events, so you're learning skills, and you can have an online shop where you can actually sell. You can have an auction, or you can just sell merch and things that they create. So not only are you building confidence through competence, because they're going from maybe lacking skills and having self-worth issues, to learning valuable passions and traits, but you're also giving them positive vices and a feasible career path going forward, in the sense of like, if you have an artist gala that you can do here, or you have an online gala for selling of the merch, or of the art that gets made that they want to sell, and so much more, so much more. So over here would be an example of like a workshop, like course. You're learning how to you're learning positive skills. So you kind of go in here as a big hallways, all the different rooms you can go into. Um, Once again, I don't even really recall all of this off the top of my head because it's been a little while. So you go into the first room, and this is a kitchen. So yeah, this is like a kitchen. You can learn culinary. They can do the cooking in this area, or whatever. You can do catering. So this would be a print studio, because print on demand and photo prints and things of that nature is a big market and a good area to invest in. And it kind of opens the door to people who want to create their own companies. If you're homeless, you're doing the print services and you have a design of your own. What's keeping you from having that shirt printed for yourself? You add that to the shop, and now you could potentially have an online store where you're making money before you even get out of homelessness. So you're getting trained out for the real world. You're learning skills, competence, and you're getting community in a real educational, beneficial way. One example of just like a little classroom for lessons, workshops. I think this is just a copy of that same exact thing. So you can have three classes and workshops running at the same time. And then here you can have like essentially like an office space where it could be marketing that they're doing. It could be design work. It could be remote work, telemark, whatever, what have you. Really, truly anything. So I don't think I'm gonna show the main side just yet, because this is still something that can be done. Like this facility doesn't need to be attached to it. This is a massive expense. This is very expensive, but you could do shipping containers for all you like. There's many ways to go about this. Um, so you come on down here, and when you get through all of this. Keep in mind, I made this scale massive intentionally because I wanted to show the highest form of its potential. So this is kind of like over the top, but it's a macrocosm of something that can be done on a micro scale. And if you do so, you can apply this in the real world. And as long as you have the capital, which isn't going to be much, specifically to the what the homeless budget is, then you could certainly do this. And you can petition to get the government to do this. And if I or you or anyone else can get the proof of concept, then the funding behind that is there. But I don't really want just anybody doing this because it's easy to manipulate and that you can use the homeless people and so on. So your heart needs to be pure, and that's kind of why I want to make it duplicatable, like almost license based. So you can buy the license, or I can like franchise it, but nobody's just making it and then like enslaving the homeless people to work because that is kind of a easy thing you could do here. That being said, so this is going to be like a salon. So think about it as your way to make sure that you're always having a nice fresh haircut. You always can have access to nice, fresh, clean clothes. Whether it's donations, it's like the $1 to $3 shirts that you can just get in bulk and mass or what have you. The print on demand stuff that either was like a fail or they made their own stuff, or just an area where you can be washing your clothes and recycling it. So you always have clean clothes. You always have a fresh haircut if that is something that you would like. Once again, volunteer work justifies the ability for this to happen. Another office space for productivity and room and board. I am in between a wall. This would be a library, which I think would be very beneficial. That also has like computers where you can work and try to learn, and it would only have limited source or sites and resources are pre-downloaded for you to access. So growth in education, imagine books like The 48 Laws of Power, How to Win Friends and Influence People, self-help and mental stability books. This is the laundry area, so this is where you can do your laundry and so on. And then once again, another little kitchen area. Keep in mind, I built this to look very nice. I could have used much more simple equipment. The interior design, I'm obviously going to try to make sure I'm using the best, nicest, coolest layout and design possible. I don't plan on using like the top of it, all these things as far as quality goes. It doesn't need to be this special. So you have food, and that food can be provided as a free daily meal that gets provided to everybody for those who are working, and you can also opt in to work to be able to make a lot more money, and that can work as credits towards food, clothes, meals, access to any private events or something, what have you. Um, and then in all this space, if you wanted to, you can even have a garden where you're growing, teaching botany, and kind of, creating a more sustainable process, even though you're not going to sustain a large number of people without a massive garden. So you get over here. This is like the massive storage room. Actually, let me explain this. This is this large storage room and closet. So this is the absolute utmost highest form of what you could do with this facility. So if instead of just using sheds and awnings for tents, you were able to make a facility, this would be what you would do for room and board, and this is where you could be working remote. This is where people could be making high forms of income and still be staying here, whether they enjoy the community, they want to provide and work for the facility, or they want to be staff and just live on the base. These are all options that could be the thing. So in this area, it's funny, I actually had like a pool table and a couple other nice things over here. So it took a slightly less updated version of my design. But Yep. So you would essentially, let me back up a little bit. You would essentially enter the main environment, the main indoor property. Oh, uh oh. I just clicked it wrong. Let me fix this. All right. And okay, there we go. We're back. Um so you would go in here, you would enter a bathroom that has like a shower stall very similar to what you saw in the outside section. There would be cameras and things to make sure that nobody's doing anything inappropriate. Set shower times. You can only shower like once or twice a day. There's like a 30-minute window, a limit on the runtime of water, so things like that can't be abused. And the ease of surveillance is a lot easier. You can make sure nobody's trying to do anything to anybody else within that 30 minutes. It's easy to get a staff member to kind of be in the vestibule area for that time. So this is very simple, just your basic, you know, wash up area. The little back area is just gonna kind of be like the utility space. It will have like the hookups and everything for the showers. This is an example of one of the bedrooms. So if you're in a room and board situation and you're actually doing one of the higher employment options, then you would get a proper room. There would be like a underbed storage area. You get like a little shelf for storage as well. You know, it would be pretty bare. It wouldn't be too much in it. It would be designed around being not flammable and something that can't mold if people are soaking or doing anything crazy with fluids and stuff. So if you've seen one, you've seen them all. That is the um the rooms, and there is a large number of rooms that I built in this. I actually made a his and a hers building so that the guys and the girls would not be in the same facility, and my plan for that is to actually have women and children in a facility of their own. That way, that you limit the chance of some of the things that could occur there, and yeah, you just kind of make it a little bit more safe. So I even split that in half. Just a large area for restrooms. That's the equivalent of a urinal. This is like the men's side. You've all seen that before. I think that's all. Yeah, just like a slightly okay. Yes. This is what it is. In the intersection, you have the highest form, the premium room. So it's a good bit more space, and you have a private restroom as well. Therefore, you kind of have that full experience. So if you're like a staff member who actually just works there, you're not homeless, but you do want to do the room and board thing to live cheaper or what have you, you can do that. Or if you're just you're at a point where you would no longer be homeless, but you like the community, you can have the creature comforts of a restroom, without all the other chaos. These are just two little storage closets. These are still the rooms. And then you would go out of here. I exit the men's, enter the females. This is like an open storage closet. And then it's all the same. I think there might be yeah. I think most of the females have a restroom of their own because of hygiene can get a little wild, I would imagine. So, from what I've been told, it may be better to have females have private restrooms. So that it has been established with that in mind, and then there is the rest or the shower area, the utility area, the open space for like meetings and stuff, and then the storage area. So that my friends is the future. The future of homelessness, the future of what I see the world being, which is a more caring and forgiving place where we give people opportunities to heal and become better, as opposed to condemning them and wishing suffrage upon them for their inconvenience that they create in our lives. So, as you look at the homeless person that you resent for their position, try to spend a little bit more time thinking about their position and respect the fact that even though you yourself might have done something that kept you from ever getting to that point, variables in life may or may not change the way that somebody sees or is able to handle something. And nobody knows anyone's life but their own. So give grace, patience, and make sure that you're opening your heart to those in need. And if you're religious, Christian specifically, there's the quote, um, treat him, the best thing you can do for God is to treat his children with kindness and do unto thee as you would do unto the least of me, or do unto me as you would do unto least of thee. That is a practice that a lot of people, religious or not, have not been living up to. And that's not a fault of the religions. That's a fault of the bastardization and commercialization of everything, where we don't actually take things as serious as we should, and we let things rot in front of our face as long as they aren't directly on our doorstep. And I think this issue is directly on our doorstep, but even if it wasn't, we should have the same investment in trying to help our fellow man. So I do think this is a very simple, applicable, and duplicatable process. And I'm showing you just a horrible scene right now. But I do think that this is something that can be done on a grand scale with very little invested if you reutilize whether it's the properties that do exist for this or the facilities and expenses that do exist for this. I think you could do a lot. A lot. But that is the full breakdown of my future vision for the homeless issue and what I hope to achieve in the heights of my charitable pursuits if I am able to kind of make this a reality to the fullest form, which I know that I will be able to do on a smaller scale. And lastly, these would be the vehicles that would take people in and drop people off. It would have a loving, happy message. It wouldn't be this bleak thing that it is. But that's everything. So let me know what you think about this. Please poke holes because anything can be resolved. It's not like problems aren't without solutions. So the more problems you present with this, the better, because we can work through this as a community. I really do want this to be something that we can work on and that I can realize on the sooner side of things. So if you have any knowledge, access, or facilities that could help expedite this process or that could help realize this in a real and even small scale way, please get in touch with me. I am very open and trying to take feedback as well as partnerships and collaboration in order to make these causes occur. So, in order to reach me, you can do that on my social media, on my website personally. I have a contact form as well. The contact form is probably the best way to guarantee that I'll see it. And then other than that, if you're in the Patreon, make sure that you're on that community and on my live streams because they're pretty exclusive. There's a very select few that I am engaging with so I can get some real one-on-one time with you guys and we can really work through this and kind of pick each other's brains. But that is all that I had to talk about this. And I just want you to know that the future is bright and there are people working to make sure that that is the case. So stay hopeful, stay curious, and remember to aspire to inspire. This is it. This is the future. Thanks for watching.